Humans have chased immortality since we first understood mortality. We've sought it in elixirs, in rituals, in divine promises, and in the legacy of our achievements. But what if the path to forever doesn't lie in preserving the flesh, but in transcending it entirely? What if your mind, your personality, your very essence could be decanted from its biological shell and poured into the eternal, ever-expanding realm of the digital? This is the audacious, tantalizing, and profoundly unsettling concept of digital immortality. It's the hypothetical dream, or perhaps for some, the silicone nightmare of storing or even cloning a person's entire personality within a digital substrate. A vast computer network, a sophisticated robot, or the boundless expanse of cyberspace. This isn't just about backing up your photos. It's about mind uploading. The attempt to translate the ineffable complexity of a human consciousness into data. What would the result of such a feat look like? Imagine an avatar, a digital representation that doesn't just mimic the deceased, but behaves, reacts, and thinks just like them, all based on a meticulously compiled digital archive of their life. Their memories, their quirks, their patterns of thought, their emotional responses. A ghost in the machine, yes, but a ghost programmed with your soul. And what happens after the biological individual shuffles off this mortal coil? This digital self, this virtual echo, could take one of two paths. It might remain static, a perfectly preserved snapshot, an interactive museum of who you once were. Your loved ones could, in theory, converse with this digital remnant, ask it questions, and receive answers consistent with the person they knew. Or, in a far more radical and potentially transformative scenario, this digital avatar could continue to learn, to evolve, and to self-improve autonomously. Fed new information, interacting with new digital environments and other AIs or even humans, it could grow beyond its original programming, perhaps becoming a form of seed AI, an artificial intelligence capable of recursive self-improvement, a mind no longer bound by its human origins. This vision of life beyond biological death, a persistence in silicone, is a central hope for a considerable portion of those within the transhumanist and singularitarian movements. These are individuals and groups who believe in the possibility and desirability of using technology to radically enhance human capabilities and even overcome fundamental human limitations, including death itself. They place great hope in the idea that they may eventually achieve a form of immortality by creating one, or perhaps many, non-biological, functional copies of their brains. Their goal is to leave their biological shell behind, like a snake shedding its skin. But where would these digital selves reside? The dream often involves these copies living eternally, perhaps in some custom-designed digital heaven, a virtual paradise tailored to their desires, or simply continuing their existence within the boundless information flows of a future cyberspace. It's the age-old yearning for an afterlife, reimagined for the digital age. But is it truly life, or just an incredibly sophisticated echo? That's where the questions really begin. The dream of cheating death, of leaving an indelible mark, of somehow persisting beyond our fleeting physical existence. It's a desire as old as humanity itself. We see it etched in ancient inscriptions meant to last millennia, in the stories and philosophies passed down through generations, and in the cherished photographic and film archives that capture fleeting moments of lives lived. Humans have always sought ways to preserve their essence, their identity, their memory. But the digital age has supercharged this ancient yearning, opening up unprecedented, almost science-fictional possibilities for achieving a new kind of continuity. This is where the idea of digital immortality truly begins to take shape. For millennia, our attempts at immortality were largely symbolic and representational. We built monuments, wrote epics, painted portraits, all efforts to leave a trace, an echo of our presence for those who came after. These were ways to ensure remembrance, a kind of immortality through legacy. The digital revolution, however, hinted at something far more radical. It offered the potential not just to record a life, but perhaps to replicate or even simulate the very essence of the person who lived it. The theoretical feasibility of digital immortality, even as a distant prospect, rests heavily on the synergistic advancements in several key technological domains. Sophisticated AI, particularly machine learning and large language models, offers the potential to analyze vast amounts of a person's data, their writings, speech patterns, decisions, social interactions, and create models that can mimic their personality, conversational style, and even patterns of thought. Our lives are increasingly digitized, generating an enormous trail of personal information. Emails, social media posts, photos, videos, browse histories, and much more. Big data technologies provide the means to store, manage, and process these colossal personal archives, which could form the new raw material for a digital consciousness. This burgeoning interdisciplinary field combines neuroscience with information science. Its goal is to organize, analyze, and model the vast and complex data generated by brain research, from brain scans to neural activity recordings. For proponents of mind uploading, neuroinformatics is crucial for any attempt to understand and ultimately digitize the intricate patterns and activities of a human brain. Together, these technologies have made the once purely fantastical idea of storing, replicating, and perhaps even simulating key aspects of human cognition and personality seem, at least to some, within the realm of future possibility. It was alongside these technological strides, particularly in AI and machine learning, that the term digital immortality began to gain traction and capture the public and scientific imagination. It encapsulated this new technologically driven vision of transcending biological limits. The concept of digital immortality is inextricably linked to two other key ideas that were touched upon in our introduction: mind uploading. This is the hypothetical, highly ambitious process of capturing the entirety of an individual's mental state. Their memories, personality, consciousness, the intricate web of their neural connections, and transferring it onto a digital substrate, effectively creating a software-based mind. Virtual avatars. These would be the digital manifestations of such uploaded minds, or perhaps of personalities meticulously reconstructed from a person's digital footprint. These avatars wouldn't just be static profiles. The vision is of dynamic, interactive representations capable of exhibiting the traits, behaviors, and memories of the original individual, serving as a kind of digital continuation of their existence. The origins of digital immortality, therefore, lie at the potent and rapidly evolving intersection, an age-old human yearning for a life beyond physical death, now supercharged by the seemingly boundless potential of modern digital technology. It's the ancient dream of leaving not just a static monument, but a living, thinking, and perhaps even evolving echo of oneself in the silicone fabric of a new reality. The hypothetical concept of digital immortality, of decanting our minds into silicone, isn't just a wild dream confined to science fiction or the far-off musings of futurists. While true mind uploading remains firmly in the realm of speculation, there are concrete real-world efforts and serious considerations underway that touch upon the fringes of this idea, exploring what it might take to create lasting digital personas or even approach a kind of virtual persistence. Let's call this the emerging realism of digital immortality, the push to see what aspects, if any, might be achievable. The idea of creating convincing digital versions of real people, a potential precursor to more ambitious forms of digital immortality, is already attracting serious academic and scientific interest. For instance, the National Science Foundation in the United States has, in the past, awarded significant grants to universities like the University of Central Florida at Orlando and the University of Illinois at Chicago. These projects have explored how researchers might harness cutting-edge artificial intelligence, sophisticated archiving techniques, and advanced computing imaging to achieve this. The goal of such research isn't necessarily to upload a full consciousness, but rather to investigate the creation of highly realistic digital avatars or personas that can convincingly represent a specific individual based on their data. This is seen by some as a possible, albeit very early first step toward more comprehensive forms of virtual immortality. For example, projects like Project Lifelike at UIC's Electronic Visualization Laboratory, which has received NSF attention, have explored creating lifelike digital replicas for various applications. Organizations and thinkers dedicated to exploring the practicalities of digital immortality have identified several crucial factors that would be necessary for any viable form of it. The now archived Digital Immortality Institute, for instance, highlighted 3 conditions. At whatever level of implementation, from a simple archived personality to a dynamic learning avatar, these digital entities would require persistent, reliable, and guaranteed access to the internet or whatever digital substrate they inhabit. Without it, they effectively cease to exist or be accessible. The digital representations must accurately be what the users or their creators specified them to be. Furthermore, they must remain so over time, protected from data degradation, unauthorized alteration, or an evolution that diverges unacceptably from the original personality profile unless such evolution is a desired feature. Perhaps most crucially, the comprehensive data archive and the initial programming or cloning process for these future representations must be completed and securely stored before the living users are no more. You can't create a digital copy from an erased original. These factors underscore the immense technical, logistical, and even ethical challenges in creating truly lasting, authentic, and accessible digital continuations of individuals. Beyond academic research and foundational considerations, there have also been more ambitious, long-term projects explicitly aiming for a form of digital immortality. One of the most well-known is, or was, Dmitry Itskov's 2045 initiative. Itskov, a Russian entrepreneur, launched this initiative in 2011 with a bold, multi-stage roadmap. The stated aim was to create technologies enabling the transfer of an individual's personality to a more advanced non-biological carrier and extending existence, including to the point of immortality. The initiative laid out several avatar stages. Avatar A, by 2020, which he missed his target, was a robotic copy of a human body controlled by a brain-computer interface. Avatar B was set to be ready by 2025, was an avatar into which a human brain could be transplanted at the end of life with an autonomous life support system. And then Avatar C was supposed to be ready by 2035, an avatar with an artificial brain to which a human personality is transferred for emulation. And last but not least, Avatar D, which was supposed to be ready by 2045. This was the ultimate goal, a hologram-like or intangible avatar. While the 2045 initiative garnered significant media attention and enlisted various researchers, its ambitious timelines have not been met, and progress on the more radical later stages remains highly speculative and far beyond current technological reach. However, it stands as a prominent example of a focused, if highly optimistic, endeavor to make digital immortality a tangible goal. These various initiatives, from government-funded university research into realistic digital personas and data archiving, to the practical considerations outlined by groups like the Digital Immortality Institute, and the more visionary, some would say utopian or fantastical projects like the 2045 initiative, all illustrate that the concept of digital immortality is indeed moving, however slowly and uncertainly, from the realm of pure science fiction into the sphere of active, if still highly speculative and profoundly challenging, scientific and technological pursuit. They represent concrete attempts to explore what it might mean and what it might take to create a lasting echo of a human being in the digital domain. The dream of digital immortality is an audacious one, but how might such a feat actually be approached? The imagined method is generally conceived as a two-step grand process. First, capturing and digitizing the essence of a person. And second, bringing that digital self to life. Within this broad framework, researchers and futurists have proposed various specific techniques and considerations. The very first and arguably most colossal challenge is to create a comprehensive archive of an individual to capture not just their memories, but their personality, their way of thinking, their emotional patterns, their very being. The initial stage is all about data gathering and archiving. The idea is to create as complete a digital record of a person's life and mind as possible. Researchers like Gordon Bell and Jim Gray from Microsoft Research explored projects like My Life Bits, which aim to digitally record almost everything a person experiences. They once estimated that retaining every conversation a person has ever had at adequate quality might require less than a terabyte of storage, a figure that seems increasingly manageable. However, they also acknowledge that technologies like perfect speech and text recognition for all that raw data remain a significant hurdle. Another approach involves archiving and analyzing a person's social internet use, emails, social media posts, search histories, online interactions. The theory is that by analyzing decades of such digital footprints, it might be possible to model an individual's personality, their way of thinking, their interests, and even aspects of their cultural milieu. Futurist and entrepreneur Martine Rothblatt envisions the creation of mindfiles. These would be vast digital collections of data from every conceivable source. The photos we upload to Facebook, the discussions and opinions we share on forums or blogs, our emails, our texts, our voice notes. Essentially, any digital trace that reflects our life experiences and our unique self. Suzanne Osh, considering these ideas, offers a comprehensive vision of what such an archive might entail. She describes digital immortality as potentially involving a person-centric repository containing a copy of everything that a person sees, hears, or engenders over his or her lifespan, including photographs, videos, audio recordings, movies, television shows, music, albums, CDs, newspapers, documents, diaries, and journals, interviews, meetings, love letters, notes, papers, art pieces, and so on and so on. And if not everything, then at least as much as the person has and takes the time and trouble to include. The person's personality, emotion profiles, thoughts, beliefs, and appearance are also captured and integrated. Indeed, some find that our existing digital exhaust, our photos, videos, social media posts, and other scattered data, could already be regarded as a rudimentary, if fragmented, form of such an archive. Conceptualizing this immense task, Richard Granmoren once summarized the core idea with a kind of equation. Semantic analysis plus social internet use plus artificial intelligence equals immortality. Raw data, however voluminous, isn't enough. It needs to be structured, analyzed, and codified in a way that can represent personality, thought patterns, memories, and the essence of an individual. This is where sophisticated AI and semantic analysis would come into play, trying to extract the software of the self from the hardware of its life data. Once a person's essence is, in theory, digitized, the next step is to make the avatar live, to activate this digital personality and allow it to interact and perhaps even evolve. Data activation and mind clone generation. This is where the digitized information would be used to power a dynamic representation. Martine Rothblatt proposes the term mindware for the sophisticated software that would be developed with the goal of generating these conscious-seeming AIs. This mindware would read a person's comprehensive mind file to generate a mind clone, an AI that embodies and expresses the digitized personality. Rothblatt even suggests a future need for some level of governmental approval for such mindware, perhaps akin to an FDA certification to ensure that the resulting mind clones are well-made, stable, and perhaps even ethically sound. Virtual avatars are a key way these mind clones or digitized personalities might be experienced. These would be dynamic, digital representations, often visual, powered by AI algorithms that have analyzed the individual's personal data, their speech patterns, writing styles, known behaviors, memories, and preferences. AI reconstruction takes this a step further, aiming to create interactive personalities based on collected data, even after someone has passed away. Advanced algorithms could analyze a lifetime's worth of emails, diaries, videos, and other records to reconstruct an individual's conversational tone, their likely responses, their preferences, and key aspects of their personality. Companies are already experimenting with rudimentary versions of these technologies, creating chatbots of deceased individuals to offer loved ones a form of ongoing, if simulated, connection. How would these digital selves be embodied or interacted with? The possibilities range from purely virtual avatars existing in cyberspace to voices emanating from smart devices, or perhaps one day, even integrated into sophisticated robotic forms that could interact with the physical world. Philosopher Joshua Hurtado has presented a four-step framework where the digital immortalization of people could actually serve to preserve the social bond between the living and the dead. His steps are data gathering, data codification, data activation, and data embodiment. Each of these steps, he argues, is linked to a form of preserving that social bond, whether through continued talk with the digital persona, its ability to express embodied emotionality, or even by serving as a kind of living, interactive monument to the deceased. For scenarios where a digital twin is created while the biological original is still alive, a collaboration process has been proposed. This would involve the biological person living and interacting alongside their artifact in silicone. The purpose would be to continuously fine-tune the AI, collaborating it to be as close a match as possible to the original person. Through ongoing updates, synchronization of new experiences and memories, and direct interaction between the two minds, the aim would be to maintain the twin minds as essentially one, ensuring the fidelity of the digital copy. The path to digital immortality, as currently envisioned, is therefore a monumental undertaking. It involves not just raw data storage, but sophisticated AI-driven personality modeling, intricate methods for interaction and embodiment, and profound considerations about fidelity, evolution, and the very nature of identity. While many of these steps, particularly full conscious mind uploading, remain firmly in the realm of highly advanced theoretical science fiction, aspects like comprehensive digital archiving and rudimentary AI-based reconstruction of personas are already beginning to take shape, pushing us to confront the immense and often unsettling implications of attempting to digitize a human life. The pursuit of digital immortality isn't just a technological challenge. As we inch closer to creating even rudimentary digital echoes of ourselves, we find ourselves wading into a profound and often murky swamp of ethical quandaries and philosophical puzzles. The very idea forces us to confront what it means to be human, to be conscious, and what responsibilities we have to the living, the dead, and these emerging digital beings. As Boston University's Alumni magazine noted, the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence is ushering humanity into a realm where the very boundary between the living and the deceased is becoming increasingly blurred. Generative technologies like ChatGPT for text and Midjourney for images, as highlighted by tech commentator James True, are just the tip of the iceberg. True also touches upon the melancholy, yet increasingly common, task of sorting through the digital and physical possessions of a deceased relative, a process that takes on new dimensions when that data could potentially be used to reanimate them in some digital form. With these advancements, a myriad of complex ethical and legal dilemmas inevitably arise, particularly concerning our digital remains and the concept of post-mortem privacy. What defines consciousness and identity in a digital form? This is perhaps the most fundamental philosophical hurdle. If we create a digital replica of a person, can it truly embody their consciousness? Is it possible to replicate the intangible essence of human experience, their unique emotions, aspirations, memories, their very qualia, in a digital medium? Or is it merely an incredibly sophisticated imitation, a puppet show of data? Thinkers like Martine Rothblatt delve deep into this. A central question is the nature of identity and authenticity in a digital form. Does a digital clone represent a genuine continuity of consciousness for the original person, or is it a new, separate entity, however perfectly it simulates the original? The line between true continuation and mere simulation is profoundly difficult to draw. The prospect of interacting with digital replicas of deceased loved ones through AI-powered chatbots, holograms, or digital twins that reproduce their likeness, behaviors, and even emotions, as described by ethicist Fiorenza Gamba, is radically reshaping how we might experience mourning. As writer Melody Parker suggests, to communicate with someone on the other side of the veil, one might no longer think of Ouija boards or seances, but of AI. For some, this technology offers a potential source of solace, a way to maintain a connection, hear a familiar voice, or feel a continued presence. However, others, including Rothblatt, raise concerns that such interactions might hinder the natural progression of grief. Could engaging with the digital ghost prevent true acceptance of loss, prolonging emotional attachment in a way that ultimately makes it harder to move forward and heal? The line between healthy remembrance and an unhealthy clinging to a digital echo is a delicate one. As these AI-enabled replicas begin to live and interact with the world, even after their human originals are gone, significant concerns emerge about the privacy and autonomy of the deceased. Legal scholar, I'm about to butcher this guy's name so bad, Vinicius Ferreira Galvo, highlights critical ethical questions. Who owns the data that constitutes a person's digital remains, especially if the deceased individual hasn't explicitly delegated an heir or given clear instructions? If a perfect digital copy of a deceased person becomes possible, should it be treated likewise to any human being? Does it have rights? Can it speak for the deceased? Can its data be used for purposes the original person never envisioned or consented to? Gamba echoes these concerns, noting the increasing use of technology to allow these digital replicas to interact with survivors, raising urgent questions about the post-mortem privacy of the individual whose likeness and data are being used. The legal implications are vast and largely uncharted. Researchers Gordon Bell and Jim Gray, in their early explorations of digital immortality, distinguish between different potential forms. One-way immortality, where an individual's data, memories, and perhaps even a static personality model are preserved for future generations to access and learn from, a kind of super archive. Two-way immortality, where living individuals can actively communicate and interact with AI-driven versions of the deceased. Each form brings its own legal complexities regarding consent, both from the individual before death and potentially from living relatives. Data ownership, intellectual property, and even the potential for these digital entities to act or be acted upon legally. Clear legal frameworks are desperately needed to navigate this new terrain and safeguard individuals' rights both before and after death. Finally, there's the uncomfortable question of access. Will the pursuit and attainment of digital immortality, in whatever form it takes, become yet another domain where socioeconomic inequalities are starkly reflected and perhaps even amplified? Will wealthier individuals and societies have far greater opportunities and resources to curate, preserve, and potentially reanimate their digital legacies, creating sophisticated digital afterlives for themselves and their loved ones? Conversely, will marginalized populations with less access to technology, data infrastructure, and the expertise required risk being excluded from this new frontier of existence, their digital echoes fainter or altogether absent? This raises the prospect of a new, profound form of digital divide. The dream of digital immortality, while technologically tantalizing, forces us to confront not just what it means to be human and conscious, but also our deepest ethical responsibilities to ourselves, to our data, to the memory of the dead, to the process of grieving, and to the kind of future society we wish to build. The philosophical and ethical groundwork is struggling to keep pace with the speculative technological ambition, demanding urgent, thoughtful, and ongoing consideration. While the path to true digital immortality is laden with profound ethical dilemmas and deep philosophical questions, the allure of this concept isn't just about cheating death. Proponents and optimistic observers also envision a range of practical applications and potential benefits that could emerge from even partial successes in digitizing human personality and presence. These possibilities span from preserving our collective heritage to transforming education and even reshaping how we remember and connect with those we've lost. Imagine a future where digital immortality serves as a revolutionary tool for cultural and artistic preservation. We could move beyond static museum exhibits or history books to create dynamic, interactive representations of pivotal historical figures, great artists, influential scientists, or visionary leaders. Picture students conversing with the digital avatar of Abraham Lincoln, asking about the context of his decisions during the Civil War. Envision aspiring artists discussing techniques or philosophies with a simulated Leonardo da Vinci or Frida Kahlo, gaining insights directly from a recreation of their persona and knowledge base. Consider historians interviewing a digital reconstruction of a forgotten figure whose letters and diaries have been meticulously digitized. Such interactive archives could offer an unprecedentedly rich and engaging way to connect with the past, preserving not just facts and artifacts, but potentially the thought process, personalities, and wisdoms of those who shaped our world. The implications for education and research are equally profound. Students and researchers could access vast, interconnected digital archives of notable individuals. Their complete works, correspondence, recorded interviews, and even AI models trained on their patterns of thought. This could provide unparalleled opportunities for deep biographical study, textual analysis, and the discovery of new connections and insights. AI-powered reconstructions could facilitate simulated conversations or Q&A sessions with historical figures, great thinkers, or even fictional characters from literature. Imagine a philosophy student debating ethics with a digital Aristotle, or a physics student having complex theories explained by an AI modeled on Richard Feynman. This could make learning more dynamic, engaging, and tailored to individual curiosity. On a more personal and intimate level, digital immortality technologies could transform how we think about personal legacy and the connections between generations. Individuals might be able to leave behind far more than just photographs, letters, or heirlooms. They could potentially create interactive digital memoirs or AI-driven avatars that embody their personality, share their life stories, offer advice based on their past experiences and values, or simply provide a comforting, familiar, if simulated presence for their loved ones after they're gone. This could fundamentally shift our understanding of inheritance, moving beyond the transfer of material possessions to include the enduring presence of personality, wisdom, and relational connection. Imagine future generations being able to meet and learn from their ancestors in a deeply interactive way. Some services are already emerging that allow users to curate their digital footprint, social media posts, emails, photos, videos, into a kind of digital legacy, or to create time capsules with messages to be delivered to loved ones at designated future dates. These are early steps on a path that could lead to much more sophisticated forms of digital remembrance. While still largely in the realm of the speculative and always shadowed by the ethical complexities we've discussed, these potential applications highlight why the pursuit of digital immortality, or at least aspects of digital persona preservation and reconstruction, continues to capture our imagination. The promise lies in creating new and powerful forms of remembrance, revolutionary tools for education and research, and perhaps even a subtly redefined sense of connection and continuity across the boundaries of time and mortality. Having journeyed through the audacious concept of digital immortality, from its ancient roots in the human desire for continued existence, through the proposed methods of archiving and uploading minds, to the profound ethical quandaries and critical perspectives on its very feasibility, we arrive at the uncertain yet undeniably thought-provoking future of digital immortality. The truth is, the concept of digital immortality is still very much evolving, and its ultimate future remains shrouded in uncertainty. We are, in many ways, at the earliest, most speculative dawn of this idea. Yet as technology, mostly artificial intelligence, neuroscience, data science, and computational power, continues its relentless, often exponential advance, the potential impact of even partial forms of digital immortality on human society simply cannot be overstated. We are contemplating a future where our very definitions might need to be rewritten. Our understanding of personal identity, If a version of you can exist and interact after your biological death, what does you even mean? Is identity tied to the body, the brain, a pattern of information, or a continuity of experience? Our relationship with mortality. If some aspect of personality and memory can persist indefinitely in a digital realm, how does that reshape our notions of life, death, and what lies beyond? The very boundaries of existence and memory. Digital immortality challenges us to fundamentally rethink where life begins and ends, and how memory, legacy, and presence are maintained across generations. Of course, as we've explored, the path forward is far from clear and is littered with significant ongoing obstacles. The immense technological feasibility hurdles, especially concerning the true replication of subjective consciousness. The labyrinth of ethical considerations surrounding data ownership, post-mortem privacy, consent, the potential for misuse, the impact on grieving processes, and the specter of socioeconomic inequality creating a digital afterlife divide. And the deep, persistent philosophical debates about the nature of consciousness, the self, and whether a digital copy, no matter how perfect, could ever truly be the person it represents. Yet, despite these formidable challenges, the vision of digital immortality remains undeniably compelling for many. It taps into some of our oldest and most powerful human aspirations. Whether we ultimately come to view it as an achievable technological marvel, a testament to human ingenuity overcoming even the finality of death, or as an enduring philosophical conundrum that reveals more about our desires than about achievable reality. The pursuit itself is profoundly reflective of humanity's character. It speaks to our enduring desire to transcend the inherent limits of biological life, particularly our own mortality. And it echoes our deep-seated yearning to leave a permanent mark on the universe, to ensure that some aspect of our being, our story, our learning, or our love persists beyond our fleeting physical presence. The future of digital immortality is a landscape of both breathtaking possibility and profound uncertainty. The questions it forces us to confront are not just about the capabilities of our technology, but, more importantly, about what we value most deeply. What it truly means to live a significant life, and what kind of future and what kind of echoes we want to create for ourselves and for those who will remember us. These are the questions that will continue to drive the big why.